Evet. Festival ekibi olarak Küba'ya
Yes, there is a
geldik.
festival. We came to Cuba as a team. We are waiting for our guide. Our guide was a little
Bakalım
late.
nasıl olacak
Let's see
bundan.
how it will be.
Evet, festival
Yes, we are
başkanı
in
olarak
Cuba as a festival
Küba'dayız.
team. We are in
Havana'dayız.
Havana.
Havana'da özgürlük
We are in the
meydanındayız.
Revolution
Eski
Square in
arabalarımızın
Havana.
yanında
Next to our classic
bir
cars,
seyahate
we are starting a
başlıyoruz.
journey.
Evet,
Yes, we
festival
will
başkanı
visit Cuba
olarak
as a
Küba'yı
festival and its
gezeceğiz,
rival.
Havana'yı
We will
gezeceğiz
visit
ve
Havana. And let's see
bakalım
what we will
Küba'da
encounter
nelerle
in Cuba.
karşılaşacağız.
Let's
Haydi
all
hep
go and visit
birlikte
Cuba
Küba'yı
together.
gezmeye gidiyoruz. Evet, burası da Havana'nın Özgürlük Meydanı. Gayet geniş bir meydan.
This is Cuba's Revolution Square, a very large square here. And this monument, I think, the Freedom Monument, is a very large square. There are Che Guevara silhouettes everywhere. There are photographs and pictures. It is a really important square, a historical square, and we want to get information from our guide Emre Bey about a place that has hosted world history.
Dünya tarihine ev sahipliği yapmış bir yer. Evet, rehberimiz Emre Bey de bizi Küba ile ilgili bilgilendirmekte. Bu meydanla ilgili
Mr. Emre can take information about this place.
This is Revolution Square, built by Batista in 1958. Its initial name was the City Square. After the revolution, of course, in 1960, 1 year after the revolution, they changed its name and turned it into Revolution Square. On the top of the stairs, you see Fidel Castro makes his historical speeches. There is the Havana Declaration. After the famous 1961-62 May 1st, he identifies with the Cuban Revolution and Fidel Castro. Fidel has 7 to 8 hour speeches here. The most effective part is that he is an orator. He is not very effective as a writer. As an orator, he is effective on the masses. The name of the street you see is Paseo. It is a wide street. May 1st is held here. The cortege starts to gather in front of the underpass ahead. The cortege starts at 7 in the morning. The students at the front finish in 10-15 minutes. The ones at the back finish in about 3 hours. About 1 million people participate in this cortege. All tourists visit this square, and this is the symbol of all revolution.
Thank you.
Devrim Meydanı'ndan ayrılıyoruz ve Küba sokaklarını gezmeye başlıyoruz.
We leave the Revolution Square and start to tour the streets of Cuba. In the streets of Cuba, the capital Havana is a city from the 1960s. You can see all the traces of the 60s in this city. The structures are magnificent, but the structures are very old and waiting to be restored. After making our way through the city, we can see all the images of the hands and the 60s here. Yes, this car is really nostalgic for us. A car we have seen in movies.
Evet, bu arabada gerçekten bizim için nostaljik filmlerde gördüğümüz bir araba. Ve muhteşem bir yapıyla karşılaşıyoruz.
And we come across a magnificent structure. This structure, which was built in 1958 as the most magnificent hotel of the period, the Hilton, cost about $20 million at that time. It was a huge amount of money for that time. Hilton was able to operate this hotel for about a year and a half after it was built. At the end of that year and a half, the revolution happened and Fidel Castro seized the hotel. The architecture of the hotel is really magnificent. You are impressed when you enter. After Fidel Castro seized the hotel, he started using 17 floors as offices for himself. Turkish poet and writer Nazım Hikmet also came to Cuba in 1958 during the construction of the hotel. His photo hangs on the first floor of the hotel. After leaving the hotel, formerly known as Hilton and now known as Havana Libre, we arrive at the University of Havana. The importance of the University of Havana is that Fidel Castro graduated from the Faculty of Law of this university, and he started the first student movements here. It is here that he first began to draw attention as a good orator, a good leader, and Fidel Castro started the first sparks of the revolution from these stairs. Cuban architecture is shaped by a combination of various influences. Historical buildings from the Spanish colonial period, colorful streets and elegant avenues are the architectural features of Cuba. Especially in Havana, there are Spanish Baroque-style buildings and structures from the colonial period. Architecture in Cuba is a mixture that reflects modernity as well as history and culture. Havana was the city with the most cinemas before the revolution. Today, there is a cinema that has survived from that time to the present day. While walking around the back streets of Havana, we came across a very interesting cafe and wanted to go in and take a look. Now we are all going inside the cafe together. We come across something interesting for us. Yes, there is a picture of the Turkish poet Can Yücel. There is a house of Can Yücel in Datça on the Aegean coast. There is a cafe in Havana, which is interesting.
Havana'da da Can Yücel'in adına yapılmış bir kafe var. Bu da bizim için enteresan. Bohema. What's the name of the cafe? Bohema. Bohema. Bohema kafede Can Yücel'i gördük.
Capri Hotel was an important center of the mafia and nightlife of the period. The importance of this hotel is one of the most iconic scenes of a scene in the Godfather movie series, where Corleone's son Michael kills the mafia leader and New York chief. This scene is one of the most impressive scenes of the movie.
Etkileyici sahnelerinden biridir. Havana'daki Nasyonal Otel'e
We
geldik.
came to the National Hotel in Havana. It is one of the most famous and historical hotels in Cuba. Built in the 1930s, this hotel has become one of the symbols of Havana. The National Hotel has hosted famous names, politicians and artists. It has hosted important historical figures. It is a hotel known for its relationship with the pre-revolutionary American mafia and its luxurious lifestyle. The garden of the National Hotel is a must-see. Yes, we are in a bar in the hotel, in the National Hotel. The special feature of this bar is that they have hung pictures of the people staying at the hotel on the walls. I see all the statesmen Putin. I see the Chinese president. I see all the heads of state. When the president of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, came, he stayed at this hotel. His picture is also hanging on the wall. In Cuban history, especially in the 1950s, American mafia groups had a significant impact on the island. During the Western Strategy period, the casino and entertainment industry was controlled by mafia leaders. Havana in particular had become a place famous for its casinos and nightlife. In 1959, the Batista regime was overthrown after the revolution, and this reduced the influence of mafia groups on the island. The Castro era closed the casinos and mafia leaders were sent from the island. It led to a significant change in Cuba and mafia relations.
Ve mafya liderleri adadan sürüldü. Bu, Küba ve mafya ilişkilerinde önemli bir değişikliğe yol açtı.
After taking a tour of the magnificent garden of the National Hotel, we listened to Cuban music while drinking our cocktail made with tropical fruits overlooking the sea. Cuba's population is made up of various ethnic and cultural groups. White Cubans, the vast majority of whom are of Spanish origin, make up the majority of the population. Afro-Cubans also have a significant population and contribute greatly to the country's culture by preserving their African cultural and religious heritage. Castro made a series of strategic moves to start the Cuban Revolution. First, in 1953, he attempted to attack a military barracks and started a rebellion against the Batista regime. This attempt failed and Castro was arrested. However, as a result of national and international pressure, he was released and deported to Mexico. Then in 1956, Castro and 81 of his friends returned on a yacht and resumed their fight. They won the support of the people by waging guerrilla warfare in the mountains and eventually advanced to Havana in 1959 and overthrew the Batista regime. With international support, the revolution succeeded.
Thank you.
We will go on our city tour with these cars.
Kaptanlarımız değil mi? Ha? Bu Chevrolet.
Yes, our captain is also very charismatic.
Hola, kaptan.
¿Cómo está, general?
How are you? Pro süper. Pro süper.
Ah, súper.
Our brother Hamdi immediately took his place in the car.
Abi hemen koruldun yani. Kaptanımız da müthiş ya.
Cuba, Cuba has a unique collection of classic cars in the world. These vehicles, imported from the United States before 1960, could not be maintained due to some political and economic events in Cuba. However, these classic cars are still driving around on the streets of Cuba, and you can come across them. You can see brands such as Chevrolet, Ford, Cadillac. You live in the 1960s while walking on the streets of Cuba.
Klasik arabalarla yaptığımız turu.
We have completed our tour with classic cars.
Çok güzel bir yere geldik.
Now we have come to a very beautiful place. This place is truly magnificent in terms of natural beauty. Natural beauty and history are already intertwined in Cuba. It is truly a very enjoyable place.
Çok keyifli.
And yes, now we will try a different drink. We pour rum into the drink. Rum is on the tables here and they add rum to all kinds of drinks. What's in it? Yes, we will taste it. There is coconut milk and rum. It tastes great too.
Thank you very much for everything.
We had a great city tour with our captain. We had fun. We also learned about Cuba and Havana. Thank you, Captain.
Brezilyalı ama
Küba'da yaşıyor. Thank you. Grazie.
Türkiye.
Türkiye, teşekkür. Merci. Merci.
Merci.
Teşekkür. Bye bye.